A bill. Entitled. An act to protect the privacy of certain data, and for connected matters. The IT enacted by the Queen's Most Excellent Majesty, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate and House of Representatives of Jamaica, and by the authority of the same, as follows. Part 1 Preliminary. 1. This Act may be cited as the Data Protection Act, 2020, and shall come into operation on a day appointed by the Minister. By notice published in the Gazette, and different days may be appointed in respect of different provisions of this Act. 2. For the purposes of subsection 1, the Minister may specify different dates for bringing this Act into operation as regards different types of personal data specified in a notice made under that subsection. 2. 1. In this Act, biometric data, in relation to an individual, means any information relating to the physical, physiological or behavioral characteristics of that individual, which allows for the unique identification of the individual, and includes a. Physical characteristics, such as the photograph or other facial image, fingerprint, palm print, toe print, footprint, iris scan, retina scan, blood type, height, vein pattern, or eye color, of the individual, or such other biological attribute of the individual, as may be prescribed, and b. Behavioral characteristics such as a person's gait, signature, keystrokes or voice. Commissioner means the Office of Information Commissioner established by Section 4. Court means the Supreme Court. Data controller means any a. person, or b. public authority, who, either alone or jointly or in common with other persons, determines the purposes for which and the manner in which any personal data are or are to be processed, and where personal data are processed only for purposes for which they are required under any enactment to be processed. The person on whom the obligation to process the personal data is imposed by or under that enactment is for the purposes of this Act a data controller. Data controller representative means a person or other entity appointed for the purposes of Section 3(2). Data processor, in relation to personal data, means any person, other than an employee of the data controller, who processes the data on behalf of the data controller. Data protection standards means the data protection standards as set out in sections 22 to 31, and reference to any of those. Standards by number means the standard as numbered in any of those sections. Data subject means a named or otherwise identifiable individual who is the subject of personal data, and in determining whether an individual is identifiable, account shall be taken of all means used or reasonably likely to be used by the data controller or any other person to identify the individual, such as reference to an identification number or other identifying characteristics, whether physical, social or otherwise, which are reasonably likely to lead to the identification of the individual. Disclosure to data subject requirements means a. The information mentioned in Section 22(6) required to be given to a data subject under Section 22(4), and b. The provisions of Section 6. Genetic data means DNA as defined by the DNA Evidence Act, 2016. Good practice means such practice as appears to the Commissioner to be desirable having regard to the interests of data subjects and others, and includes, but is not limited to, compliance with the requirements of this Act. Health professional means any of the following. A. A medical practitioner registered under the Medical Act. B. A person registered as a dentist under the Dental Act. C. A person entitled to practice optometry under the Opticians Act. D. A person registered as a pharmacist or pharmacy owner under the Pharmacy Act. E. A person registered as a nurse or midwife, or enrolled as an assistant nurse, under the Nurses and Midwives Act. F. A person registered as a member of a specified profession within the meaning of Section 2 of the Professions Supplementary to Medicine Act. G. A regional hospital or public health facility, within the meaning of Section 2 of the National Health Services Act. H. A private hospital or private health facility. I. The National Health Fund. J. A provider of ambulance services. K. The hospital established pursuant to the University Hospital Act. Health record means any record which A. Is in the custody or control of a health professional in connection with the care of an individual, and B. Consists of information relating to 1. The past or present physical or mental health, or condition, of an individual, for example. A. Clinical information about diagnosis and treatment. B. Genetic data. C. Information about the testing of any body part or bodily substance, or the donation of a body part or bodily substance. D. Biometric data. 2. The registration of an individual for the provision of health services and any number, symbol or code assigned to uniquely identify the individual for those services. 3. The name of the individual's health care provider, or 4. Payments made by, or the eligibility of, the individual for the provision of health services, or any other health-related information about the individual that is collected in the course of the provision of health services to that individual. Minor in relation to an individual means an individual under the age of 18 years. Personal data. A. Means information, however stored relating to 1. A living individual, or 2. An individual who has been deceased for less than 30 years. Who can be identified from that information alone or from that information and other information in the possession of, or likely to come into the possession of, the data controller, and B. Includes any expression of opinion about that individual and any indication of the intentions of the data controller or any other person in respect of that individual. Process in relation to information or personal data means obtaining, recording or storing the information or personal data, or carrying out any operation or set of operations, whether or not by automated means, on the information or data, including A. Organization, adaptation or alteration of the information or data. B. Retrieving, consulting or using the information or data. C. Disclosing the information or data by transmitting, disseminating or otherwise making it available, or D. Aligning, combining, blocking, erasing or destroying the information or data, or rendering the data anonymous. Public authority means A. A ministry, department, executive agency or other agency of government. B. A statutory body or authority, being a body corporate established by an Act of Parliament and over which the government or an agency of the government exercises control. C. The council of a local authority, within the meaning of the Local Governance Act. D. Any company registered under the Companies Act, being a company in which the government or an agency of the government is in a position to direct the policy of that company. E. A commission of Parliament, or F. Any other body or organization which provides services of a public nature which are essential to the welfare of Jamaican society, or such aspects of their operations, as may be specified by the Minister by order published in the Gazette. Sensitive personal data means personal data consisting of any of the following information in respect of a data subject. A. Genetic data, or biometric data. B. Filiation, or racial or ethnic origin. C. Political opinions, philosophical beliefs, religious beliefs or other beliefs of a similar nature. D. Membership in any trade union. E. physical or mental health or condition. F. Sex life. G. The alleged commission of any offense by the data subject or any proceedings for any offense alleged to have been committed by the data subject. The non-disclosure provisions means the following provisions, to the extent to which they prohibit the disclosure in question. A. The first data protection standard, except to the extent to which disclosure is required for compliance with the conditions set out in sections 23 and 24. B. The second, third, fourth and fifth data protection standards, and C. Sections 11 and 13 3 and 4. The special purposes means any one or more of the following. A. The purposes of journalism. B. Artistic purposes. C. Literary purposes. Trade association includes any body representing data controllers. 2. For the purposes of this Act. A. Obtaining or recording, in relation to personal data, includes obtaining or recording the information to be contained in the personal data, and B. Using or disclosing, in relation to personal data, includes using or disclosing the information contained in the personal data. 3. The objects of this Act are to A. Define the general principles for the treatment of personal data relating to an individual, and B. Provide for transparent oversight therefore, that will enable the public and private sectors to strengthen the protection of personal data. 3. 1. Except as otherwise provided for in Section 60, this Act applies to a data controller in respect of any personal data only if the data controller A. is established in Jamaica or in any place where Jamaican law applies by virtue of international public law, and the personal data processed in the context of that establishment, or B. Though not established in Jamaica. 1. Uses equipment in Jamaica for processing the personal data otherwise than for the purpose of transit through Jamaica, or 2. Processes personal data of a data subject who is in Jamaica, and the processing activities are related to A. The offering of products or services to data subjects in Jamaica, irrespective of whether a payment of the data subject is required, or B. The monitoring of the behavior of data subjects as far as their behavior takes place within Jamaica. 2. A data controller falling within subsection 1b shall appoint for the purposes of this Act a representative established in Jamaica. 3. For the purposes of subsections 1 and 2, each of the following shall be treated as established in Jamaica. A. An individual who is ordinarily resident in Jamaica. B. A body incorporated under the laws of Jamaica. C. A partnership or other unincorporated association formed under the laws of Jamaica. D. Any person who does not fall within paragraph A, B, or C, but who maintains in Jamaica 1. An office, branch or agency through which the person carries on any activity, or 2. A regular practice. 4. 1. There is hereby established for the purposes of this Act an office to be known as the Information Commissioner, which shall be a body corporate to which the provisions of Section 28 of the Interpretation Act applies. 2. The provisions of Part 1 of the first schedule shall have effect as regards the constitution of the Office of Information Commissioner. 3. The Commissioner shall perform the functions, A. conferred on the Commissioner under this Act, and B. such other functions as may be conferred on the Commissioner by the Access to Information Act. 4. For the purposes of this Act, the Commissioner shall act independently in the discharge of the functions of the Commissioner and shall not be subject to the direction or control of any person or other entity, except as provided in subsection 10(5). It shall be the duty of the Commissioner to A. Monitor compliance with this Act and any regulations made under this Act. B. Give to the Minister such advice as the Commissioner considers appropriate, or as may be requested by the Minister, on any matter relating to the operation of this Act or otherwise for the protection of personal data. C. Promote the observance of the requirements of this Act and the following of good practice by data controllers. D. Arrange for the dissemination, in such form and manner as the Commissioner considers appropriate, of such information as it may appear to the Commissioner expedient to give to the public about the operation of this Act, about good practice, and about other matters within the scope of the Commissioner's functions under this Act, and the Commissioner may give advice to any person about any of those matters. E. Prepare and disseminate, or direct the preparation and dissemination of, to such persons or other entities as the Commissioner considers appropriate, guidelines to be adhered to as good practice, 1. Where the Commissioner considers it appropriate, and 2. After such consultation with trade associations or persons representing data controllers, data subjects or persons representing data subjects or such other entities having an interest in the matter, as appears to the Commissioner to be appropriate. F. Where the Commissioner considers it appropriate to do so, 1. Encourage trade associations to prepare, and to disseminate to their members self-initiated guidelines, and 2. Where any trade association submits self-initiated guidelines for the Commissioner's consideration, consider the guidelines and, after such consultation with data subjects or persons representing data subjects, as appears to the Commissioner to be appropriate, notify the trade association whether in the Commissioner's opinion the guidelines promote the following of good practice. 6. A direction under subsection 5e shall a. describe the personal data or processing to which the guidelines are to relate, and may also describe the persons or classes of persons to whom the guidelines are to relate. b. Be directed to the appropriate regulatory authority having responsibility for the subject matter concerned, and c. Limit the time within which the draft guidelines shall be submitted to the Commissioner for approval. 7. In determining the action required to discharge the duties imposed by subsection 5, the Commissioner may take account of any action taken to discharge the duty imposed by Section 57, Data Sharing Code. 8. The Commissioner may, at the written request of the data controller concerned, assess any processing of personal data as to the following of good practice and shall inform the data controller of the results of the assessment. 9. The Commissioner may charge such fees as may be prescribed for any services provided by the Commissioner under subsection 8. 10. The Commissioner shall be subject to the oversight of the Data Protection Oversight Committee in accordance with Part 2 of the First Schedule. 11. Without prejudice to Section 67, the Commissioner may intervene as a party in any proceedings before a court, in respect of any matter concerning the processing of personal data, or the enforcement of any provision of this Act, other than proceedings for the prosecution of an offence.